Pixel tablet first came out 10 months ago, I was so excited for its future. It was the first tablet we've seen from Google in years, seemed to have a lot of attention to detail in both hardware and software, plus the included dock added an extra dimension that we rarely see on other tablets. But after all this time, I feel no one's talking about it, which is why I wanted to revisit this device, to see what changed, talk about the updates, and ultimately discuss if it's worth your time in this long-term review. Personally, I love revisiting Google products, especially after some major updates. In typical Google fashion, many aspects have changed and many consumers are wisely waiting to see how products turn out after a certain period of time. If you find reviews like this helpful, don't forget to subscribe to the 9 to 5 Google YouTube channel, as we plan to do much more of these long-term reviews as time goes on. That said, let's go over what new features the Pixel tablet has gotten since launch. For those that remember, the release date was June 20th, 2023, with the first round of updates coming out in July, August, and September that mainly focused on bug fixes and stability. Then in October, we got the OS upgrade from Android 13 to Android 14 that brought the expected changes like Health Connect, a handful of accessibility features, monochrome theming, the ability to play podcasts without unlocking the device, and some general streamlining of the Kids Space feature, but overall, not a huge update. In fact, Android 14 on the Pixel tablet has quite a few omissions actually, like no customizable lock screen shortcuts, no clock face options, and no generative AI wallpapers, to name a few, with no signs of them coming, at least for now. November was the next update, again just bug fixes and stability, but December, however, is where the big changes started to happen, where we got several new features including clear calling, spatial audio, contextual replies for call screening, and more. Gboard got the ability to write inside a text field with the stylus like you see with the S Pen on Samsung devices, but the biggest, most requested feature of them all also arrived in December with Force full screen mode for literally any application you can think of. This was probably the number one complaint when Google released their large screen devices, both the Pixel tablet and the Pixel Fold, and in practice it works really well. All the major apps that previously did not have support like Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit can all be forced into a full screen aspect ratio, which even the iPad doesn't have at this time. Don't get me wrong, there can still be some issues with formatting as the apps weren't originally designed for the large screen in the first place. This can lead to blown up UI elements or some areas where there's overlap, which might cause you to change the aspect ratio back. That's why their responsibility ultimately falls on developers to create tablet-compatible apps, but for now, this is a great workaround that significantly improves the software experience. Finally, to round up all the device updates, January, February, March, and now April were all stability focused with only 2 new additions worth noting. One being a floating toolbar when using a physical keyboard for quick access to emojis and predictive text suggestions, and the second is handwritten annotations inside Google Docs. That's more of an app feature instead of an OS level upgrade. Nonetheless, great additions to have that give the Pixel tablet a bit more utility. Alright, I know that was a lot, but like I said, it's important to point out the biggest updates the Pixel tablet received over the past 10 months, and now let's talk about the rest of the device, starting with the hardware. To me, the included dock is pretty much the number one selling point, so let's start there. After all this time, I still think it's an awesome idea and probably one of the greatest additions we've seen in modern tablets for quite a while, but the execution admittedly still needs work. Talking about the positives first, it is so satisfying to have a dedicated place to store and charge the tablet when not in use that also doubles as a smart display with weather animations or a digital photo frame. As someone that's tried various tablets over the years, this is the aspect that keeps me consistently using the Pixel tablet, as it's always visible, so it's at the forefront of my mind constantly. It's always charged, so I'm guaranteed to get many hours of use out of it every time I pick it up, and it's always ready to be used when I need it. Plus, all the passive benefits are great too, like the built-in speaker that makes audio from podcasts, videos, and music fill the room, even if it isn't the highest quality sound. The built-in Chromecast is helpful for sending over bits of media that might be more enjoyable on the dock, and overall, the seamless nature of attaching the tablet and having the audio immediately transfer over is a positive experience to say the least. Basically, the hub makes the Pixel tablet a device that's constantly begging to be used, and I realized a big factor on how it fits into your life depends on where you keep it. When I have the dock set up in the office, it becomes a great workday companion / second screen for information, background noise, or those one-off work-related tasks. When you have it in the kitchen, it becomes a perfect cooking assistant for recipes, timers, or playing media in the background while you cook or do some chores like washing dishes or cleaning out the fridge that should have been cleaned out a long time ago. And if you keep it in the living room, it becomes more of a general use home controller slash family device that comes and goes throughout the day, which is doable thanks to that multi-user feature. However, on the downsides, the dock faces a few challenges that prevent it from being universally loved by everyone. For example, Nest Hub users can't really use it as a full replacement, as the Pixel tablet can't display live video feeds from compatible doorbells, it doesn't have the sleep sensing capability like the Nest Hub 2nd Gen has, and it doesn't have the Nest Hub Max's ability to double as an indoor security camera, plus a ton more. On top of that, there are a handful of features not related to Nest Hub capability, like the fact you can't use the dock as a standalone speaker, no tilt mechanism for getting an optimal viewing angle if necessary, and the sound quality as mentioned earlier is okay, but simply not as good as one would expect from a standalone piece of hardware. I will say though, the biggest offender for the dock is the absurd $129 price point to buy a second unit. The way I see it, these docks should be as cheap as possible so Pixel tablet users can place one in the most important rooms. But even if you wanted to get a few extra, like one for the bedroom, the office, and kitchen, you're paying over $300, which I just can't find to be a reasonable decision. And that's a story with the dock situation. To me, it makes a huge improvement over the tablet experience, has a lot of potential issues, but I can't stress enough, it still needs work before it can become a staple for every household. That said, let's change gears and talk about how the Pixel tablet has held up as a traditional tablet experience. The build quality is a great place to start, as it's in line with Google's previous tablets and many others in its price range, being premium, simple, and has some thoughtful additions. The tablet features a full aluminum body with a nano-ceramic coating that can feel like a matte plastic when warm, but strangely still feels cold to the touch after long sessions of not being in use. I've dropped the tablet a few times where the coating did chip and the metal has dented underneath, but other than that, I'd say it holds up pretty well. Personally, I don't think that will matter anyways, as this device 100% needs a case of some kind with a kickstand, or else you'll never find yourself having a place to use it comfortably. Of course, I've been using Google's first-party Ring case that I can easily recommend. Not only does it protect the tablet, but works seamlessly with the dock mechanism, and that Ring-style kickstand always has the perfect amount of friction while also being super flexible. Mine has taken a decent bit of wear and tear because I'm constantly taking the tablet in and out, but if you put it in and leave it, it's a great investment. But if you didn't want to pay the $80 asking price, there are rubber feet stationed at the bottom that can fill a similar role to prop the device up against the surface. Overall, I love the design. I think it fits in well with the Google aesthetic while giving users that premium feeling. However, there are a few aspects of the hardware I find still have room for improvement. The screen is a good example of this. It's a 10.9-inch 2560 by 1600 LCD display that does a good job playing back content or showing text for reading, but at 60 Hz, it makes the whole tablet experience feel a bit sluggish, and since most smartphones these days run at a max 120 Hz, it's certainly noticeable when navigating the OS primarily. Not a huge deal, but the simple bump up to 90 Hz would make this tablet feel much faster. Also, I don't hear a lot of people talking about this, but the fingerprint scanner, at least for me personally, is really bad. I don't know if my unit is defective or what, but initially it worked maybe 99% of the time. 10 months later, it will work flawlessly some days and literally be completely useless on others with no discernible reason for why that is. I've tried factory resetting, adding multiple fingerprints, removing and re-registering the same one just to try and troubleshoot the situation, but I still find it's inconsistent, plus the lack of face unlock makes the unreliability much more noticeable. I can't put my finger on it, no pun intended, but I simply find the scanner difficult to work with, which is unfortunate. Finally, before we get out of here, let's have a quick conversation about the current software experience, and I'll throw in some last-second tidbits towards the end. Earlier, I went over everything new, so I won't cover that, but more so how the software is holding up at this time. Something that's important to me is connectivity with a smartphone, which is certainly present here. Through Google Messages, you can see and respond to your text messages from your tablet, just like you can on an iPad with iMessage. Various earbuds, like the Pixel Buds, OnePlus Buds, or Nothing Ears, can seamlessly transfer connectivity from your phone to the tablet, which is nice as well. And since I'm mainly using Google services that constantly sync to the cloud, my tablet always has the most recent activity that I just completed on my phone, whether that's Google Docs, Google Photos, YouTube, etc. Speaking of Google apps, almost every one has been updated for Android tablets with dual column layouts, sidebars, and easy to access navigation rails. We have a whole article on the 9to5 website covering every single tablet app under Google with their changes that I will link below because that list is way too large for this video, but I encourage you to check it out. Another great change as mentioned earlier is the forced full screen mode, as it's simple to use and works pretty well. Stylus support is good too, since the Pixel tablet supports the USI 2.0 standard, great for taking notes with the Squid or Google Keep apps, navigating through the OS, or doing rough sketches. And as expected, Pixel UI on Android 14 is simply wonderful as it's clean, looks beautiful with Material U, and is overall a nice translation of the Pixel experience for tablets. Right now, the biggest omissions are basically all AI based. We don't have Gemini for the Pixel tablet, although you can just use the web version. There's no circle to search, no AI generated wallpapers, no option to summarize web pages, which would be perfect on a tablet, plus many more. Not a huge problem, but definitely worth mentioning. Lastly, I wanted to mention performance, camera, and battery real quick since the length of this video is probably getting out of hand. Performance-wise, we have the Tensor G2 chip paired with 8 gigs of RAM, which on Wi-Fi only runs cool, and for my use case of content consumption, writing in Google Docs, or even split-screen multitasking, I find it's more than enough. Light games or even more intense stuff like Call of Duty Mobile runs well. I find the frame rate is pretty smooth, and for the most part, I'm never really doing anything wild like Warzone Mobile on this thing, so me personally, I find the performance is perfect. For battery life, Google says users should expect 12 hours of streaming time, but in my usage, I can typically get around 8 hours or more if I'm doing less intensive tasks. I'm never using the tablet for that long in a normal session though, so I've never really had a problem with battery life per se. And for the camera, it's really meant for document scanning or video calls at most, which it's fine at, but nothing more. If for some reason you wanted to use it as an actual camera, both the front and rear sensors are 8 megapixels and all the modes are there like night sight and portrait mode. Google Photos supports Magic Eraser and Photo Unblur, but again, it's more of a utility focused kind of camera. At this point, I'm sure this video is getting super long now, so to end this review, I wanted to close out by talking about my hopes for the future. If Google is making a Pixel Tablet 2, and I really hope they do, there's a few changes that need to be made. In my opinion, we need a higher refresh rate display as it will help the tablet feel so much smoother in day-to-day use. We need an official keyboard case and an official Pixel stylus so productivity users like myself can get more value out of it, or a Pro model if Google wants to strictly keep the Pixel tablet as a at-home kind of device. Although it is rumored Google is planning on relaunching the Pixel tablet without the dock alongside a keyboard and stylus accessory sold separately. Lastly, for hardware, the dock needs to be much cheaper so I can buy multiple without breaking the bank, and needs to be able to work separately from the Pixel tablet. On the software side, we definitely need more AI features like Gemini or Circle to Search, and more features related to the dock that can help make that experience feel a bit more full. Also, apparently, the Pixel tablet is absurdly priced in many regions outside the US. For my co-host Damien that lives in the UK, it comes out to around £599, which translates to $740 and that no doubt makes the device a tough sell. Don't get me wrong, I'm no hotshot, six figures market research extraordinaire, but based on the comments and general feedback of the Android community, it seems like these are the needs that might help take the Pixel tablet to the next level. That said, let me know what you think of the Pixel tablet 10 months later. Did things change as you would have expected them to, and are you still interested in knowing what the long-term experience is like? Leave a comment and let me know, but in the meantime guys, I'm getting out of here. This has been Jordan Floyd with 9to5 Google. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.